It is Thursday, time for Worldview with Denis Campbell. Denis is editor-in-chief of UK Progressive Magazine, author of the book Billionaire Boys Election Freak Show, and also Egypt Unshackled. Earlier in the week, Denis, we had Hurricane Sandy come through here, and there were a lot of political implications, including now the discussion of Chris Christie being seen with President Obama and what that means just days before the presidential election. And we've really not seen much of a connection being made to discussions of climate change. Not that individual extreme weather events are the lone indicator of climate change, but you would think it would create an opportunity to discuss that. Mainstream media not too interested in touching it. Talk a little bit about, on your side of the pond, what is the connection between individual weather events and climate change and the discussion that these topics get in their mainstream media?
Well, it is a very big issue here. What a lot of people don't recognize is that when you look at a map of the United Kingdom and look at it on an actual globe and draw across the latitude lines, you will see that we are on a direct line with Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Now, obviously, we don't get the cold temperatures that they're known for because of one simple factor. The Gulf Stream, which hugs the U.S. East Coast, empties out right here over Ireland and Great Britain and pretty much the whole northern part of the sea area there, the North Sea. What we do have is a renewed focus on it because we've been having also very, very strange weather events. Just before you and I started recording this segment, David, we had a line of supercells come through, and I can track them on the Met Office's radar as they roll across. It must have been moving at a good clip, about 40 to 45 miles per hour, and they looked everything like some of the storms that you would get racing across the Great Plains, as well as what you would see come through in a typical afternoon in Miami and Florida. And what I see to be extraordinarily shocking is the amount of moisture that is contained in these storms. We had 3 straight days of rain at the end of September, and each of those days contained 1 month's typical rainfall for this time of year. So it's becoming a big issue and one that we're starting to focus on very carefully here in this part of the world.
All right, now the obvious question that has to be asked here is, well, let's take a step back for a second and say we've really got reliable, observable weather for a couple of hundred years of records, more or less. And given how long the Earth has been around, it is very presumptuous to say that because of any individual weather events, even in a 25, 50, 100-year period, that we are seeing actual climate change in the long term. Now, I understand that point of view. How is that used on your side? I mean, here in the U.S., that idea is used basically to say this is a liberal conspiracy and we should absolutely not worry about it at all. Now, to me, all it says is we need to be aware of that, but we also need to be taking it very, very seriously. How is it seen there?
Well, there's definitely an impact on the amount of carbon that is being put into the air. We're seeing record low polar ice caps. We're seeing tremendous amounts of storms, much like what we saw with Sandy. Yes, in one respect, it is too early to say that climate change has caused all that we have seen. On the other hand, there is clearly a man-made footprint to all of this. We used to see temperatures routinely in the 80s and 90s in Italy. Now those temperatures in Italy and again in Greece are well over 100 to 110 to 115 degrees. And what's happened is that those countries have become almost desert-like and arid in their nature, whereas here, where we normally would have temperatures in the 60s and 70s, maybe high of 80 to 85, we're seeing much more temperate temperatures here in the summer months. So there are some changes going on systemically. We're seeing insects here coming up from parts of Africa, parts of Southern Europe that we've never seen before. We're seeing diseases being spread in a way, and particularly when you start talking, you know, the travels from sub-Saharan Africa on up through across the Mediterranean and into Europe, there are going to be some fairly dramatic changes in the coming years.
In the U.S., even though the overwhelming consensus looking at the numbers is that we do have to be aware that human activity on Earth is or may be affecting climate, there are these kind of holdout scientists. Often they are funded by groups that have an interest in having a counterpoint, but it doesn't really filter down in this kind of 99 to 1% ratio to popular opinion. In other words, popular opinion is much more split about what the effect of human activity is on the climate. Compare that to Europe. I mean, in Europe, are people more confident that this is a real thing, or address that a little bit?
Well, in Europe, we believe in science. That's the first thing. I mean, I literally had a dinner last Friday evening with a number of professors at the University of Cardiff who were all saying that if Mitt Romney were to become elected as a result of this campaign, the U.S. will see a phenomenal brain drain of scientific talent. People are not going to stick around because there's not going to be any funding available for the research grants that's required. I mean, you saw with the floods at the hospital there in New York City, literally years worth of research were completely destroyed because they didn't even have things such as simple medical records on computer systems and backups. So the fact that we believe in science and that we don't have a bunch of creationist yahoos writing our school textbooks is a huge advantage here. And I think you're going to see more and more American scientists get fed up with the system and the way in which people are literally being brainwashed into this way of thinking. They're going to be coming over here. They're going to be going to Asia, where they'll be welcomed with open arms because there are a number of huge things to be resolved: illnesses, diseases, things that require stem cells and other sorts of things that you can't even touch because there's such white hot social issues on your side of the pond.
All right, very quickly, Denis, I do want to touch on last week's story, which we did, where you broke the story of the retired NSA analyst who pointed out what he believes to be mathematical proof that Republican election fraud is taking place. Give us a follow-up. Of course, the video and the story doing very, very well over the last 7 days. What's going on now with that?
Well, we're going to put an update story out either tomorrow or first thing Saturday morning. What I have witnessed, and again, going back to this idea of science and math being so important, if I look at what Michael Donahoe and Francois Choquette and Parker have done, I mean, I am included on their email strings of messages going back and forth. And what I like most about the way in which they're going about this is that they're constantly testing assumptions. They're constantly bouncing things off of each other. And they're saying, we don't have a definitive answer here or there, but there's very likely evidence that there's something going on that needs to be paid attention to. There's been another study, and another group of scientists have joined in from Stanford University into the discussion. And we also have the hacker group Anonymous expressing interest in the results, who were involved, the companies, etc. So this story is something that's going to continue right on up till Tuesday, and I think beyond Tuesday, because you're going to have some real difficulties with the actual counting of ballots, and who knows when we're going to get this actually resolved.
All right, so Stanford and Anonymous now involved, certainly covering all bases. We've been speaking
individual scientists from those schools, not the schools themselves.
We've been speaking with Denis Campbell. He is editor-in-chief of UK Progressive Magazine, the book Egypt Unshackled, the book Billionaire Boys Election Freak Show. Denis, thanks as always.
Pleasure.